So, for this segment, we'll be looking at a fairly underrated, underused, and not in the meta tank, as you could say. Because, unlike standard tanks, which can really soak up damage, you could say has a lot of sustain for him or his teammates, Hylos is one that deals damage over time and can enable your team to move fast, maybe just provide the right CC at the right time. Just one though, but well, let's get to his skills and you'll understand what I mean. First off, Thickened Blood. It converts 1 mana that you gain from equipment and emblems to 1.5 health. So it's not that he really converts it, he just grants an additional 1.5 health to his already status high HP as a tank. So this means that if you have any items that gives him mana, that also gives him health. So that's one of the reasons people list this guy as a tank. But of course, okay, let's go to his next. First skill, his only CC skill, fairly cut and dry, law and order, deals magic damage and stun for 1 second, scales over time from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. As you pick up the skill, damage also increases. So the next skill, Ring of Punishment, is his bread and butter, his main source of damage, and also the hardest technique that you can say he's got. So Ring of Punishment gives Warden's Fury to the enemy. Every time that it's an AoE skill giving magic damage, so every time that he deals the damage to the enemies, he also stacks up on Warden's Fury. So every stack of that Warden's Fury will reduce an enemy's movement speed by 6%, attack speed by 5%, and the enemies will take more damage from this Ring of Punishment by 7.5%. Now this Warden's Fury will stack up to a maximum of 10 times. Now you could say, I don't know, it seems overpowered. You can stack it 10 times, but that's 10 times of damage after you deal damage to the enemy. So that's like movement speed by 60%, 50%, and 7.5% additional damage from Ring of Punishment at a maximum level. Now, what's the downside to this? There are many downsides to this. It's an AoE ability, so you could just deal damage in the form of only those around him. And this ability costs 30 mana per second. So you could say every time you use it, your mana will drop easily. And then another hard thing that you could say is pretty bad is that if you have no more mana and you keep using Ring of Punishment, instead of mana, it will diminish your life points instead, your health points, your HP. So that means that it might, at early levels, you really can't use this that much, because every time that you use this, every second that passes, your mana depletes, and once your mana is depleted, it's your health points that will next be depleted. So what happens is that this Ring of Punishment is a dual-edged sword. Now, yes, you could have reduction of movement speed, reduction of attack speed, and the enemy can take more damage from you, but you need it to stack 10 times, which means 10 seconds of continuous damage, not turning this skill on and off, because it will restack on the enemy. So while it is kind of overpowered, as you can see, its level 6 is 245 base damage and an additional bonus damage of 20%, which if you stack it up till 10 stacks, that's 200% damage. That means you'll be dishing out 245 plus 200 plus 200% more damage per stacks. That means you're essentially dealing like nearly 700 to 750 damage per second base damage in your highest stacked form, and that's just the base damage. But it deals damage, of course, to you, while it also deals damage to your opponent if you have no mana. So we'll see later in the gameplay how you can play around this negative effect of the second skill, how you can abuse it, how you can push it to the limit, how you can position yourself to maximize this one, etc, etc. But now let's go to our ultimate. Now this ultimate gives sustain to Hylos and also to his teammates. Now as you can see, it's one of the very few speed up or heal skills in the game. Now it has a fairly low cooldown in 50 seconds, but what it does is it creates a pathway for 6 seconds. Every time that Hylos is on the pathway, it will heal 4% of his maximum health and be immune to slows while on the pathway, so he can just run like a truck on the pathway. It doesn't mean that he's immune to crowd control. It just means that you won't be slowed, okay? So it also gives a boost to your allies on their movement speed while they're on the pathway by 60%. They'll also be moving like trucks, and enemies will be moving like snails, reducing their movement speed by 70% at the most. Now, cooldown scales, HP regen also scales, and movement bonus also scales once you keep leveling this skill up. Now, this works in conjunction with your second skill, Ring of Punishment, because as like I said before, if you no longer have any mana that you could work with, this depletes your life points. But if you're on the pathway and you have no more mana, your life points is being reduced, but the pathway gives you 4% maximum health back. It essentially provides you additional energy for you to just keep going on using your second skill, because that's 4% additional maximum health in conjunction also with your passive, which gives more health. So these skills in combination, you could say, gives Hylos that tank status, because your life points is already becoming bigger than other people, because if you have more mana, that means more health. Then you have this glorious pathway which gives you a big amount of sustain, which gives you 4% maximum health, gives you mobility, gives your opponent lesser mobility. This gives you CC. This gives you damage. Now, the only problem here is that, oh, I deal damage to myself. I need to stack up to 10 times. That means 10 seconds for me to do my maximum damage. Won't the enemy just keep plugging away at me? Well, that's your role as a tank, to keep the enemy plugging away at you. Now, what enables Hylos? As you can see from his emblems, usually you go for tank emblem. Now, it's either you go for Vitality, which I didn't because he's already got that passive of his giving him additional HP from his mana. Or the other skill trees, which are firmness, physical defense, or magical defense. So I went for physical and magical. Defense, fairly common. And then inspire. Instead of physical defense and magical defense, I went for inspire just to spam the first skill, because his first skill is not really that short of a cooldown. You could see earlier it's 12 seconds at base level, and it just cools down up until like 8 seconds at maximum level. So it's not fairly the shortest of cooldowns, but I want to abuse it. And also the pathway to heaven, while it's 50 seconds at earliest level, it's 40 plus seconds at maximum level. You could say it's not really that spammable either. So I want to use inspire. And I chose Brave Smite as his main skill to give myself a maximum of 5% max HP. So if I use my first skill, it grants me additional life, so that I gain more life. I can spend more time on my second skill, etc, etc. Next will be the equipment that you can see on Hylos. Now Hylos is not your standard tank in terms of, oh, I can just go all tank items. No, because Hylos is someone that deals damage with his second skill as his bread and butter. He's not someone that just, oh, I can just stand here and soak damage and I'm done. That's not it. What you do is go there in front lines, do some damage, wanting the opponent to hit you, because if they don't, it's either they will die from the second skill, with such a great amount of stacks being done upon them, reducing their move speed, reducing their attack speed, letting them take more damage. So it's either they have the choices of plugging you away from afar, where they cannot be damaged by your second skill, or if they cannot get away, attack you, because it will if they don't, they will diminish themselves and let themselves be vulnerable to your second skill over time. Now, as you can see, all three items that I got here, item builds that I got here, are really different. There are some that stand out and is fairly usual. You can see Clock of Destiny is one of the favorites for Hylos. Why? It gives you magic damage, which amps up your damage that you can do with your second skill. Gives you HP, of course, as a tank, that's a given. You need more HP items. And mana. Now, this is very good on him because that 600 mana is essentially converted 1.5 times into health pool. That gives you 750 HP also. So this item itself gives you 1,300 plus HP. And that's just from the base stats that he can give you. Look at his unique passive. Adds 30 HP. Adds magic attack up to 30 seconds. And if you're fully stacked, gives you additional 5% magic attack. So your second skill will be amped up so much. And your mana you'll receive additional 300 mana. That's converted into 450 additional health points. So what does that mean? Your life points will be additional 1,800 HP with just this item, giving you the beefiest item in the game for your HP. So this gives you magic power, this gives you HP, this gives you mana for you to keep spamming away at your at your second skill. So that's why I'll just go with this, my custom build. I'll be explaining my item build for this one. Wizard Boots, because at early levels, I'll just be the one doing damage, being the front line. But since I need my... At early levels, my damage isn't that high unless really the opponent is just very, very underestimating Hylos as a general, does not try to get away from my second skill, making my stack go 10 seconds that they'll deal so much damage to him. So, Wizard Boots, 80 additional gold awarded for my assist. So I'll be looking at to my teammates to give the finishing blows, and myself to have the assist, so it will enable me to have more gold. Other boots that you can use, of course, is warrior boots, because of course, as a front line, you will be the one soaking up the most damage. So this gives you up until 25 points of additional physical damage, physical defense, whenever you take physical damage. So this gives you that edge in terms of having a physical tank for your team. It doesn't really give any, and along with this base physical defense, it doesn't really give any magical defense, so to say. That's why, again, that's some of the items that you can use. I went first item, Clock of Destiny. Let's go to that again. Movement, Wizard Boots. First item, going for magic items, Clock of Destiny. My next items will be defensive items, going for Cursed Helmet, going greedy. Why Cursed Helmet though? There are so many greedy items. Won't you just go Sky Guardian Helmet? Maybe. Won't you just go Oracle? Maybe. I said earlier that it's a greedy item because this one works in conjunction with your second skill. So every time that they don't want to get away from you, this gives additional magic damage to the enemy, 1.5% of their max HP. And it gives you HP, and it gives you magical defense, which, after having your first and second item, Wizard Boots, Clock of Destiny, you really don't have any defense against magic damage. Now, what about physical damage? For physical damage, I go for Dominant Ice. This also gives you 500 mana, along with with Hylos passive. This gives an additional 750 HP, and gives you physical defense. It gives you critical chance reduction. The only item in the game that gives you critical chance reduction of 10%. This also works in conjunction with your second skill, lowers enemy movement speed by 5% and attack speed of 30% for nearby enemy heroes. So if you would remember earlier in his skill, the second skill, in the Ring of Punishment at maximum stacks, you get like movement speed, maximum reduction of 60%, attack speed maximum of 50%. Now that's attack speed 80% reduction if you use in conjunction with Dominant Ice. So this one is another standard item on Hylos. But with just those 4 items, do you really have enough sustainability for your team? Like Wizard Boots, sure, you got HP. Clock of Destiny, sure, you got the best stat items that you could ever get in any item, but at maximum stacks. Cursed Helmet, not really the best defensive item. Sure, it gives you HP, sure, it gives you magical defense, but it does not give you HP regen, nor magical mana regen. This one also does not give you HP regen. So for my last two items, I will go for both Athena Shield, which gives me additional shield, which grows up until 1150, gives me magical defense, gives me plus HP regen, and then next I go for another defensive item which focuses mainly on physical defense. Gives me additional 54 physical defense, HP, gives me HP regen, and will reduce the enemy attack power by 6%, stacking up to 3 times. That's 18%. So this also works in conjunction with my second skill and Dominant Ice. As you can see, it's not really the tankiest of heroes, and you could say that the item build that I have is not really the choiciest items that you can have for a tank, but it works. I'm just saying, because if the opponent really underestimates you and just stays within your second skill, they are doomed. You could take out like 3 people at the same time because of the reduced attack speed, reduced movement speed, and your damage per second that you deal. If the enemy is not really fed and they have reduced critical hit and they don't have enough burst against you, what else can they do against you? You just keep running them down. That's what you do. Now, for my other items that you can use, as you can see, Global 1, this one, I took it from the #1 global player in the world. He's got Warrior Boots, physical defense up. Then next, going for the defensive build with Athena Shield, giving you additional HP regen, giving you magical defense. Going for Immortality next, for a magical defense again. And because you might die in the front lines. And then, of course, having your second skill being you could say, spammed. As usual, you're more vulnerable to dying than most. So you can have Immortality here. This one, Thunderbolt, one of, again, the best defensive items on Hylos. Why? This is plus 30 mana regen. What does that mean? Plus 30 mana regen. That's exactly the mana that you need for your second skill, to activate your second skill. So you essentially have no mana loss in your using your Thunderbolt. And this gives you additional HP, this gives you additional physical defense. So this is one of the best items that you can get on Hylos. So it lets you spam your second skill, and then at no cost. Your mana stays the same. Your HP would not be touched unless your opponent attacks you really. So this is one of the best items that you can get on Hylos. He goes next. Courage Bulwark, additional move speed, additional support item for yourself and your teammates, gives your allies additional attack and defensive power, can take more turret damage, more move speed for your hero and your allies, increasing their physical and magical damage by 20%. This is a great item also on Hylos. And next, of course, Cloud of Destiny. So what he went for first is sustain. You go for HP regen, go for both physical and magic defense, then going for immortality first to maximize to maximize his team fight presence. Because if you're in the front lines and you soak up a lot of damage, you deal a lot of damage, you soak a lot of damage, the enemy wants to get rid of you, boom, immortality, you're back. You're back in the game. They'll have to focus again on you. And maybe your first skill will be on cooldown, and you might be able to set up another great comeback. And along with the 100 belt, additional defensive stat, and your move speed making you, in conjunction with your ultimate, so fast you might not die. So that's his choice for the item build. So there are many choices that you can go for in Hylos, but for me, I say it's a combination of magical items, giving you magic power, and then tank items. And those items, you could say it varies on a lineup to lineup basis. If your opponent has a lot of burst damage, you could go for Athena's Shield early, like what he did with his skill. If not, if their burst is not that high, you could go Cursed Helmet, making them also burn their damage, making them take more damage whenever they come near you. And if they're melee, go Dominant Ice, you could go Thunder Belt, you can go Anti-Cuirass, just ramp up your physical defense, going for the Warrior Boots instead of the Wizard Boots. And if you want more sustain, you can get Wings of Apocalypse Queen. Again, once you finish off your mana and you're already taking damage for yourself on your second skill, this one gives you reduce the damage you take once you've reached 40% health. It reduces the damage you'll take for 50%. So it reduces the damage you take from your own second skill. So it's, again, another good item on him, but one that I would not recommend because it gives you the, of course, it depends on your enemy lineup. If you expect them to having much burst, like 2 or 3 burst items, you could go for this one. Athena's Shield in conjunction with Apocalypse Queen, you're nearly unkillable there. They can't burst you down. You could just, boom, ultimate, 4% max HP. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to mute you first. So, that's Hylos. And let's see what are his main abilities that you can use. So far, what I've seen from Hylos is that you do damage over time. So if you're going greedy and you just want to finish them off in an instant, you can go for this one, Execute. Other people go for Sprint. In addition with his ultimate, after he's gone from his ultimate, you could just sprint away. You could just be more aggressive even though your ultimate is still in cooldown, just using Sprint, running amok all over your opponents. You could go for Healing Spell. This is good because it adds HP and mana to yourself and your allies. It works very well with your ultimate and with your second skill in your ultimate. Other people go for Aegis because of course you'll be the one being focused on. Other people go for Petrify for additional CC so that the opponents will stay longer within the duration of your second skill. Other people can also go Purify so that you won't be CC'd, but to a lesser extent because your skills are not that active. Your only active skill is like a first skill, which is a stun. So you don't really go for Purify unless you really have to activate your skills. But once your second skill is already activated and you've already laid down your Pathway to Heaven, your ultimate, you don't really need this one that much. Other people go greedy, going Flicker for the instant initiation with the first skill in conjunction with the first skill. Other people go for Vengeance because as a frontline, you will be taking some damage if you go for Vengeance it's either, oh my god, do I keep attacking them and then take more damage? Or do I just stay away? If they try to stay away, you could chase them with your ultimate, and then the stacks on your second skill will rack up. So there are many abilities that you can use. There are many battle spells that you can use on Hylos. We've already shown you the item build, the skill build. For the skill build, you usually max out your second skill, of course, for the damage. And of course, we've already shown you the emblems, the equipments. Let's head into the gameplay. I've already saved a replay for you guys. I'm just gonna say Angela will be AFK whole game. It's 4 versus 5. It'll be Claude, Lunox, myself as Hylos, and Alucard. So it's still fairly balanced in terms of we got 2 front lines and 2 back lines. The problem is that the enemy, of course, has the advantage of having 5 heroes. So they have fairly standard lineup. They got a Grok early game presence, Thomas, which builds up into a scary monster late game. And as you can see, seeing Grok, you really don't want to go against him early game. That first skill of his is just crazy. And as usual, as standard, you go for to clear the creep wave. So we only just see late in the game that, oh, our Angela is not moving. So after this, someone should be rotating bottom. In this game, I went for Vengeance as my battle spell. Again, with the enemy lineup, they got Burst. They got a mixture of Burst with Kadita and Gushen. You could say Grok is also Burst. You could say, as you can see, what I did was use my second skill in conjunction with my first skill. The opponent has their life points nearly reduced to half after just a few seconds of using my second skill. And that is if they stick around. So that's why you want to go on the enemy with your first skill. If they want to go away, if they want to move away, you could just activate your first skill. Make sure they stay within your second skill so that they take more damage, more harass damage. Now Hylos wants to go on me. I know that, Hylos, come on, your early game, you don't have any damage on yourself. Now the problem is that, oh, I got a vengeance. Are you gonna keep attacking me? And Tamus dies. Come on, look, Tamus has no items yet on himself. No attack damage items, no skill regen, no spell lifesteal. He dies. But at least he's got backup. So it's 2 versus 1. Me, early game, not nearly having the items necessary yet. So I'll be trying to contest for the turtle here. To my demise, maybe. They got the... And look at that. I used the pathway, seeing that the opponent might be going for the escape after securing the turtle. It was a nice try on our part to contest the turtle, but instead they still got the turtle, but at the expense of their Gushen. Gushen is a snowbally hero. If they can help it, they wouldn't want their Gushen going down, because they want him to snowball, pick up his magical items, keep getting the kills, but that sets him back a few waves. Going back to Hylos gameplay, as you can see, we see Tamus solo bottom, trying to get the crab. We contested it, and along with Alucard, we were able to get the kill on Tamus. At this early level, Tamus is not that good in the early game if you got people who can dish out more damage than him and really get in his face. Now the problem here is that I don't want to go on the enemy Leslie there, because it might expose my buddy Alucard. And seeing that Grok already rotated too, we also just backed away. Okay. I just keep focusing on the Leslie. As you can see, she is the one who is the most tanky in the team. Bad jump by Tamus there. She'll be taken down. So again, with your second skill, you can go for, this is a bad initiate on my part, because yeah, Grok can do that to you. He can use his second skill to block you up. So if you take tower pot shots, you're dead, because you're not really the tankiest of tanks. And Grok knows that. Even though he's low on skills, he's low on health, if you're taking tower pot shots, you're dead. I've nearly completed my Clock of Destiny with Minibomb Farm, but already leading the team in kills, tied for assists. This is what you should do early game, because as a 4 versus 5 team, you want your Claude to really ramp up on his farm. He really won't be in any team fight usually, except for that one. We were able to take down the enemy Kadita, who has no death up until this point and already 1 kill. And this is a bad contest on my part, because Claude already expended his ultimate. I already see that there are 3 enemy people there. And if I really want to contest the turtle, I should have waited for them to come nearer, or to let them have a lower HP status from taking damage from the turtle. But I preemptively went in. That was my error. At least Lunox was able to secure the turtle, was able to secure the kill on the Grok, and the Gushen is not that big of a loss. Turtle at this point is not that high of a priority, because unlike other teams that you could have increased gold for your whole team, you just have 4 people. Lunox will be caught there. Using my ultimate to see that, oh, it's just a one-way deal. I let myself get hit by that wave from Kadita, because I know that they'll still be within my AoE damage in my second skill. I stopped chasing for Kadita because Gushen was trying to target our Claude. They managed to successfully kill Claude, but Claude at least was able to get up his shield, his Aegis, and then was able to have more time to do damage. We were able to take down Gushen, along with, if Kadita wasn't there to provide the backup, I think we'll be scot-free, home free. Now at this point, instead of going for the Cursed Helmet, I'm looking to go for the Dominant Ice, because I recognize Leslie already hits like a truck on their enemy team, banking on critical hits with the Berserker's Fury. And at this point in time, I think I'm fairly able to kite out either the Kadita skills, and if Gushin wants to go on me, I got my first skill. So, oh no, Claude was able to juke away. That's good. And we were able to take down the Leslie because they want to go on our MM. What does that mean? It means lesser damage on their part. And I wanted to go on Tamus, but he just flickers away. Our Claude went juking too far and got killed himself. Now, as you can see, leading in kills, still Hylos and Lunox with the magical damage. The enemy team lineup doesn't have any magical sustain. Grok is going for his with magic resist cloak. He should have went Athena's first. I think he's gonna go Athena's now. He wanted to have that lockdown against Alucard, I think. So I died there. But using my ultimate path, my Heaven's Pathway, secure the retreat option of the enemy. They weren't able to escape, both Kadita and Grok. So I died, but two of them died. It's a good trade. At this point, their Gushin is already with Fleeting Time and Lightning Truncheon. His damage output will be very high. Also Lightning Truncheon on the enemy Kadita. And also the Ice Queen 1 to make sure that we can't escape. Maybe. And the additional spell steal. At this point, we're lacking in the towers taken. It looks like the enemies have been ramping up their items. They're also going for the Lord, and they do. Successfully taken. Team fight ensues. I want to go on their main damage, which is the... And we got ourselves a team wipe. What? Again, my focus here is trying to get that pesky Leslie, because other than Claude, Lunox doesn't have the greatest of mobilities. Alucard, if he goes very close against Leslie, he can't attack the other melee damage heroes, which he wants to. He wants to go on Tamus, he wants to go on Grok. The damage that he deals to melee heroes will provide him the physical lifesteal he needs to be sustainable. So nobody will be going on Leslie. So I took it upon myself to go on her. If she wants to stay and fight, then she'll pay the price with my second skill. If she tries to get away, then her damage will be sorely missed in a team fight. And that's what happens. Claude went in. Lunox, while she's the one being gone on. This is bad initiation because I have no help. But still, killing off the Leslie. We got him. Our Claude will also be taken down. But cleaning up the lag lines is Alucard taking down the Tamus. But I'll also pay with his life. Sole survivors of both teams will be Lunox and Kadita. Now that's just because my teammates weren't in place yet when I initiated the team fight. And you could say that I went too far. I used my Heaven's Pathway on aggressive mode, trying to chase them, but My teammates weren't there, weren't near enough to get on the heavens pathway and be as fast as myself. So in hindsight, if they were nearer, closer to me, and would provide me additional backup, or I would have waited a little earlier, then maybe team fight would have gone smoother instead of having many of us being wiped. I went for Cursed Helmet for my magical defense, and next I think I'm going for more sustain instead of my usual item build of Antikyros and Athena's shield. I'm going for the Sky Guardian helmet in this case, just to provide me additional HP regen per second. That's the highest HP regen per second that I can have in the whole game, which is 100. So both of us are just jostling for position. I think Alucard will get himself killed here, securing the turret, but he will pay with his life. Flicker was 1 second off cooldown. He could have escaped, but no cigar. At this point, our Claude is now second in the network. You could say he's fairly online with 2 items to his name, Demon Hunter Sword and Golden Staff. He also went defensive item in Athena's shield just to have more sustain against the Gushin and the Khadita, which can just burst him down. And again, since you are the damage dealer in the team, okay, Lunox going for the damage on the Khadita. It looks like in this case they're going for our Claude. Try to kill him off before they killed the Claude, but too bad. Now it turns that was all 3 people only, and Alucard killing, finishing off the enemy Tamus. And also the Gushin. So in a 4 versus 5, you could say, oh, we're lacking manpower, we're doomed. But again, never give up. At this point in time, our Lunox is nearly 6 slotted. Our Claude went for Wind of Nature to prevent more physical damage that will be dealt to him once he gets hit on by Tamus or the crits from Leslie. So additional physical sustain on his part. He's also going for his 6 slotted build. Me too as Hylos, also finishing Sky Guardian helmet, looking into my 6th item. So enemy lineup also nearly 6 slotted. You could see their Gushin 5 slotted with the Demon Knife, with the jungle item. But this is the point in time wherein you could say, oh, our opponents are also nearly 6 slotted. What can we do? Full lineup versus full lineup. In this case, it all boils down to the team fight potential, the pick-off potential, the decision making. And Claude tried to go for the steal. Lunox instantly went for the Leslie. So did I on Hylos. We managed to take 2, 3, finishing off the Grok. That Kaja will also fall. This was a bad This was a bad team fight for the opponents because they thought that, oh, we secured the Lord. The opponents wouldn't want to go in on us after we secured the Lord. We'll just back away. But it was a fail back from their team. And that means we'll be able to push tier 2 towers. And we see that the Alucard is up top, so we keep pushing mid. It's just Gushan versus the two of us. Lunox has her skills up in a few seconds, even the ulti. So we dealt much damage to the second tower. I casted the ultimate preemptively just to get away. If ever the Gushan wants to keep chasing us. Our Lunox is now 6 slotted with the immortality. I also went for the concentrated energy just for the additional sustain and the magical damage that I deal with my second skill will be turned into health on my part. But I'll be changing that later maybe. Up, they're trying to contest the buffs and they do. They're trying to go on the Lunox and they do. CC. I try to go on there Leslie. And fail. That's how you get away from Hylos, guys. You should just jump away from his second spell. And Leslie free hits. But that's sustained. Again, just like Hylos, Alucard, you don't want him hitting you. You don't want him near you. So, along with his Haas Claws and his Queen, Apocalypse Queen, and his Blade of Despair, he is just hitting like a truck. Endless battle for that for additional life steal. Berserkers for additional crit. You could say that all of us are 6 slotted right now. We took the initiation. They don't want to go to heaven's path of heavens to my ultimate earlier, so they took the damage. And yes, it's in late game. You go for the... And that's how you finish off Alucard. You want him controlled. He got caught with the wave by Kadita. He wasn't able to attack and keep regenning and using his physical lifesteal. But if he could keep auto attacking, he could have survived that. But instead, he got CC'd and bursted down with Kadita ulti. Now the enemies, they're fairly scattered. Now they're going all in on the top. They see that it's just one hit away from being destroyed. I wanted to scout things out. Didn't initiate that instance because wanted to... Oh, their Kadita, I think, was lagging. They went in and just very unfortunate. It looks like their whole team just lagged at the inopportune moment of the clash, going for the tower. 3 of them dies. This is what lag can do to you, boys. Don't just say lag is an excuse. No. Lag wins and finishes off games. Now it's just Tamus against the world. I don't think he can do this. This is GG. But now, again, as Hylos, you could say you're the one being the front line, doing the damage in the second skill, making the opponent think, oh, would they want to go in on me, finishing me off, or do they want to back away, reset, and let my teammates take care of their front lines? So that's GG. As you can see, our Lunox MVP doing the burst damage needed against the enemy lineup, doing the most damage, and me doing the most frontline on par with Alucard and Claude, and soaking up the most damage as a tank should. So again, that's what you should do. You should recognize your team's strength, where you should go, who you should go on, when you should use your skills. That's Hylos gameplay, everyone.